This is our second lesson from, let's see, the believer's authority. You can't see it backwards. Okay. And I know it's been a while since we did our study. We had so many things going on. But I just know we should pray. This is new to me. Let's see. Okay, get ready here. Okay, dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today on this beautiful day and the day that you have created for us to enjoy. We thank you for all of your blessings. Please forgive us from where we have failed you, Father. Open our eyes to see your truth and teach us, Father, while we do this Bible study and read your word, Father. This is all about you and bringing us closer to you. And guide us and direct us in all your ways. And show us what authority we have through your Son, our Messiah Yahushuah. We thank you and praise your name. And we praise your name. Hallelujah. Okay. Now, we are not teachers here. Let's see. Lesson 2. Whom he may devour. When you yield yourself to sin, you're serving Satan, who is the author of that sin. But when you yield yourself to obedience, you serve Yahuah, who is the author of that righteousness. Romans 6:16. Know ye not that to whom you yield yourselves servants to obey, his servants are to whom ye obey, whether of sin unto death, or of obedience unto righteousness. In the spiritual battle, your actions are very important. Most of you recognize that actions are important in the physical realm. You know that there are consequences for what you do. If you're speeding while driving, you could get a ticket or cause a wreck. The ticket would cost money and put points on your license. The wreck could cause damage to cars or even cost someone their life. When we talk negatively about someone, we can hurt their feelings or even lose demonic powers against them. There's much more to life than just this physical, natural service level. There are spiritual dynamics constantly taking place. Whether the person you're speaking evil of knows about it or not, you'll be affected. Venting anger, frustration, resentment, or unforgiveness affects you, whether it affects anyone else or not. I've actually ridden with people who are very vocal in traffic when someone cuts them off. They have told me that person doesn't know what I have said. They didn't hear me. It doesn't matter whether they have heard them or not. If they get angry and bitter, they've just yielded themselves to Satan. Whether they recognize it or not, the devil is the one who influences them to respond in the wrong way. Brings us back to Romans 6:16. The wrath of man, James 1:20 says, the wrath of man works not the righteousness of Yahuah. Giving place to anger and bitterness doesn't accomplish the righteousness of Yahuah. You aren't going to accomplish Yahuah's purposes by getting in the flesh and giving into anger and losing your temper. That's not the way Yahuwah's kingdom works. So whether anyone else hears you or not, it's having an effect on you. A fellow I led to Yahuwah was recently converted and had come quite a way in his discipleship. He upholstered cars and was trying to restore a certain old one. One day, I went over to his house and knocked on the door, but there was no answer. I knew he was home, so I walked around into the backyard, and as I come around the corner of his house, I heard this awful profanity, screaming and yelling. This brother had a fence post and was beating the fire out of that car. He was cussing this car up and down as I, his pastor, came around the corner. When he saw me, he stopped for a moment, conviction I presume, and said, "Well, it's just a car. It doesn't matter what I say to it. It didn't hurt anybody." I had to explain to him that it didn't matter what it was. When you give place to anger and vent like that, Satan jumps on it like a chicken on a June bug. The enemy will take advantage of an open door like that to come and steal and kill and destroy. Where envy and strife is, there is confusion and every evil work. James 3:16. Notice how this didn't say some evil works. It didn't say envy and strife could allow the devil to come against certain types of people. No, when you get into envy and strife, you're flinging the door wide open and saying, "Come on in, Satan, and do your worst in my life." You're drawing a great big target on your back saying, "Shoot your best shot." When you give in to envy and strife, you make yourself a target for the devil. Are you spiritually stinky? We are unto Yahuwah a sweet Savior of Christ in them that are saved and in them that perish. 2 Corinthians 2:15. What is your spiritual scent? Are you giving off that sweet aroma of Christ, or are you spiritually stinky? Just like flies and rats, demons are attracted to open wounds and garbage in your life. Your rotten attitude, getting mad in traffic, being bitter, or whatever, and criticizing everything and everyone is putting out an aroma that's drawing every demon in the country to your house. And you wonder, why am I having these problems? Why does nothing go right for me? That's just ignorance gone to seed. You need to recognize that we're in a spiritual battle. Your thoughts, attitudes, words, and actions are either releasing the power of Yahuwah in your life, or they're releasing the power of the devil. You might think, fate is against me. I have bad luck. You may put it off on him, saying, "Yahuwah, why have you allowed these things to happen to me?" It's not like that at all. Yahuwah is good, and he's doing everything he can to save, bless, heal, and prosper you. However, we do not have an enemy who is going around seeking whom. We do have an enemy. I read that wrong. However, we do have an enemy who is going around seeking whom he may devour. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. 1 Peter 5:8. Notice that it's whom he may devour. Satan cannot devour you without your cooperation. One way he gains that cooperation is through ignorance. You may think it doesn't matter if you get mad at the car you're working on, or the driver who just cut you off in traffic. You might think that nobody's harmed when you gossip about someone who isn't there, saying they won't hear this. But the truth is, once you start venting these things, Satan takes advantage of it. For some reason or another, we feel like politicians are just fair game. We think we're free to say anything we want about them. The freedom of speech of our country encourages us to voice our disagreement. However, there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. I've heard Christians rail on a presidential candidate or some other public officer in ways that aren't healthy. We can disagree without putting a person to shame with the words we say. It doesn't matter whether they ever hear us or not. We could be opening up a door to the devil through our words. Spiritual dynamics. Well, we should read that. Romans 6:16. I don't have it. Okay. Romans 6:16. Know ye not that to whom ye yield yourselves servants to obey, his servants are ye to whom ye obey, whether of sin unto death, or of obedience unto righteousness. You need to set a watch before your mouth. Psalms 121:3.
Set a watch over from my mouth. Keep the door of my lips.
And take every thought captive into the obedience of Christ. 2 Corinthians 10:5. Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of Yahuah, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. You need to control your actions. Galatians 5:22-24.
But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. And they that are Christ's have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts.
And recognize that the demonic realm is trying to take a shot at you every day of your life.
Okay, I'm not going to be able to.
If you allow a door to be opened to them, they'll come in for no other purposes than to steal, kill, and destroy. John 10:10. Satan is looking for whom he may devour. You need to learn to recognize the spiritual dynamics happening in your life. Yahuah wants you to yield to him so that his power and blessings can be released in your life. Satan wants you to yield to him so that destruction and death can be released in your life. In order to gain an inroad, the enemy is constantly trying to snare you with bitterness, unforgiveness, and ungodliness of all kinds. Therefore, no matter what you do, you're either obeying Yahuah or obeying Satan. You're either submitting to Yahuah and his influence, or you're submitting to Satan and his influence. Every time you act, you are releasing spiritual power, either Yahuah's or the devil's, into your life. Since most people are ignorant of this truth, they allow all kinds of things in their lives. Yet if they were to recognize the results they are going to reap, they would never do it. The wife of one of our Bible college students was suffering from severe depression. When I began to tell her how she could be delivered from this, she explained that she had battled depression since she was a little girl. She'd go through a period of 1 or 2 months each year when she would be severely depressed and have to treat it with medication. I told her, "You don't want to live that way anymore. You need to get over this." She answered, "This is just the way I am. It's not hurting anything. I get over it. Everything's okay in a month or so." She had totally accepted and embraced this depression, thinking it was only a passing thing that had no lasting impact. But every time we submit doing things Satan's way, we are having spiritual intercourse with him, which conceives evil. It isn't just benign. Sin's conception. Every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then when lust hath conceived, it brings forth sin. And sin, when it is finished, brings forth death. James 1:14 through 15. Sin is conceived in your emotions. Every time you have a negative emotion, whether it be sadness, anger, fear, strife, or one of many others, you conceive something. Many people are conceiving things they don't want to give birth to. They don't want depression, strife, suicide, or their marriage to fall apart. Yet they allow these negative emotions to flow through them without recognizing they're in a spiritual battle. When you give into your flesh and start saying and doing these things, you're releasing spiritual forces. There is a battle raging, and the enemy is looking for an opportunity to come against you. The devil's will is to devour anyone he can. He desires to kill, steal, and destroy every person everywhere. If Satan got what he wanted, then the whole earth would be devastated, and there would be no good anywhere. However, Yahuah has a will too. Yahushua said, I am come, that they might have life, and they might have it more abundantly. John 10:10. Yahushua is trying to release life into you. Satan is trying to steal, kill, destroy anything good that you have. Both are willing and able to move and manifest those things in your life, but the determining factor is you. You need to recognize this battle that's raging and the fact that everything you say and do is either empowering Yahuah or the devil. Yahuah wants to release his life into you. Satan wants to steal that life and kill and destroy you. It's not fate or luck. Your thoughts, choices, and actions make a huge difference in your life. Get out of my life. I visited a church once that had previously believed Yahuah could heal, but that it wasn't his will to heal every single time. However, less than 6 months before I came, they had changed their minds to come into agreement with the word saying, it's Yahuah's will for every person to be well. He heals all the time. This was a brand new step of faith for them. The congregation was beginning to hear the word and was starting to believe Yahuah for specific manifestation of healing. 2 days before I arrived, that church had a funeral for a 17-year-old boy who had died after being in a coma for 6 weeks. The entire church had fasted and prayed. trying to implement the truths from Yahuwah's word that they were being taught. Although they knew it was Yahuwah's will to heal this boy, he died anyway. Therefore, there was a tremendous amount of conflict, turmoil, and questions in that church. After the morning meetings, I went out to eat with the parents of the boy every day for 3 days, trying to figure out exactly what had transpired. Since everyone had given it their best shot, doing everything they knew to do, many people in the church were beginning to back off the word, saying maybe it's not Yahuwah's will to heal every time. When I told them that this wasn't true, that Yahuwah had already provided healing, and it is his will to heal every single time, they responded, well then, what's the problem? As I talked with the boy's parents those 3 days, I discovered that they had been in so much strife that they were about to get a divorce. They'd already made plans and had talked about it with the children. Therefore, there was much strife, hurt, and negative emotion in that home. On the morning of the tragedy, the mother had an argument with the boy and told him, I hate you. Get out of my house and never come back again. Excuse me. She probably didn't mean what she said. She was just saying it out of the heat of the moment. I know that kids can sometimes get on people's nerves. I've raised some myself. Raising kids is harder than raising the dead, and I've had to do both in my family. I'm not trying to condemn this lady, however, but before this boy left, she said, get out of my life and never come back. Every evil work. Because the boy had been hurt, he violated school policy. He left the school grounds and went over to this other kid's house to eat lunch. While there, they got out a gun, were playing with it, and he accidentally shot himself in the head. That's the reason he had been in a coma for 6 weeks. They just didn't understand how this could have happened. The word reveals that where envy and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work. James 3:16. Many people say, I agree that strife isn't the best. Nobody likes it. But it's just a normal part of life. The families fight, and they get over it without realizing that they are in a spiritual battle. They just tolerate different levels of strife in their lives. The word says that where envy and strife is, there is confusion. Yahuwah is not the author of confusion, but of peace. 1 Corinthians 14:33. If Yahuwah isn't the author of confusion, guess who is? That's right, Satan. The devil is the one who, where envy and strife is, this brings confusion in every evil work. When you fling a door open like that to the devil, don't be surprised if you see different forms of sickness, tragedy, poverty, and death manifest. Satan jumps on opportunities like that and uses them as inroads in your life. As a roaring lion, he constantly seeking whom he may devour. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and go over this outline. Okay, in this spiritual battle, your actions are very important. Know ye not that to whom ye yield yourselves servants to obey, his servants ye are to whom ye obey, whether of sin unto death, or of obedience unto righteousness. Romans 6:16. When you yield yourself to sin, you're yielding you are serving Satan, who is the author of that sin. But when you yield yourselves to obedience, you serve Yahuah, who is the author of that righteousness. You aren't going to accomplish Yahuah's purposes by getting in the flesh and giving into anger and losing your temper. Whether anyone else ever hurts you or not, it's having an effect on you. When you give in to the enemy of strife, you make yourself a target for the devil. Where envy and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work. Are you giving off the sweet aroma of Christ, or are you spiritually stinky? We are unto Yahuah a sweet savor of Christ in them that are saved and in them that perish. In 2 Corinthians 2:15. Your thoughts, your attitudes, words, and actions are either releasing the power of Yahuah in your life, or they're releasing the power of the devil. Yahuah is good, and he's going to do everything he can to save, bless, heal, and prosper us. But we do have an enemy who is going around seeking whom he may devour. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walks about seeking whom he may devour. 1 Peter 5:8. Satan cannot devour you without your cooperation. We need to set watch before your mouth and take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. You need to control your actions and recognize that the demonic realm is trying to take a shot at you every day of your life. You need to learn to recognize the spiritual dynamics happening in your life. Yahuah wants you to yield to him so that his power and blessings can be released in your life. And Satan wants you to yield to him so that destruction and death can be released in your life. Either you're submitting to Yahuah and his influence, or Satan and his influence. Every time you act, you are releasing spiritual power, either Yahuah's or the devil's, into your life. Sin is conceived in your emotions. Every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then when lust hath conceived, it brings forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, brings forth death. Every time you have a negative emotion, whether it be sadness, fear, anger, strife, or one of many others, you conceive something. Many people are conceiving things that they don't want to give birth to. When you give into your flesh and start saying and doing these things, you are releasing spiritual forces. You need to recognize this battle that's raging, the fact that everything you say and do is either empowering Yahuah or the devil. The thief comes not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. John 10:10. He wants to release his life into you. Satan wants to steal that life and kill you and destroy you. Your thoughts, choices, and actions make a huge difference in your life. The devil is one who, where envy and strife is, brings confusion in every evil work. As a roaring lion, he constantly seeking whom he may devour. According to James 1:20, what does the wrath of man work?
Oh, you skipped. You skipped a couple pages.
No, it's just how it was in.
It's here.
That's a teacher's guide.
That's what I said, you skipped that. I don't know. You skipped it. That's why I said a couple pages. Okay.
Okay, and according to James 1:20, what does the wrath of man work?
The righteousness of God.
John 10:10 reveals that Yahushua came for what purpose?
That we might have life.
James 3:16 says that confusion and every evil work are found where?
Where envy, strife is.
According to 2 Corinthians 2:15, what are we to do?
A sweet savor.
Yep. What does 1 Peter 5:8 command us to be?
Sober and diligent.
What does the psalmist ask Yahuah to set before his mouth in Psalms 141:3? No, 1. According to 2 Corinthians 10:5, what are we to do with every imagination and high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of Yahuah?
Cast them down.
Mm-hmm. What is listed in Galatians 5:22-24?
The fruits of the Spirit.
What have they that are Christ's crucified? Flesh. According to James 1:14-15, when is every man tempted?
When he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed with
Yep. When lust has conceived, what does it bring forth?
sin.
What does sin bring forth when it is finished? Death. According to 1 Corinthians 14:33, is Yahuah the author of confusion? Nope. What is he the author of? Peace. HalleluYah. And that is all for the lesson today. I will get better at this, I swear. Okay. Now we will say a prayer. Again. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you. We thank you for opening our hearts to receive your truth. And Father, teach us how to teach others your words. Write your words upon our hearts. And I thank you for this glorious day that we are able to be together and study your word and share your word with others. Open us up to where we don't fail you. And help us be able to learn and put your words in our hearts. Help us stand on our authority through our Messiah Yahushuah. We thank you for providing your word. And we thank you for everything that you have done for us. And we bless your precious, precious set apart name. In the name of Yahushua we pray. HalleluYah. Salah.